unbiased, fan-friendly Syracuse sports coverage on WSKO Syracuse. A Cumulus media station, the voice of the Central New York sports fan, The Score, 1260. Welcome to your home for local sports in Syracuse. Outside the Box Score with Mark Rowlands starts right now.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Outside the Box Score with me, Mark Rowlands, your home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on the Score 1260. I want to start today's show with a little bit of sad news. And usually when I start this show with sad news, it's a friend of mine or some large figure in sports that passed away, which there is one that we're going to get to in a little bit, but this is someone that impacted myself and a lot of the listeners out there to not only my show, just local sports talk radio in Syracuse in general. Stephen Chappell passed away, and Steve, if you don't know just by the name, you might be saying, who the heck is Steve Chappell? Well, Steve Chappell was Steve in North Syracuse, who is a much more well-known name around here. And Steve was a long-time regular caller into not only my show, which he did call into, not just the Man-Child show with Boy Green, which he called into regularly, but every show. And always provided incredible insight to whatever it was that we were talking about. I've said to many people this week after Steve passed away, due to a battle with cancer, and he was 71 years old, but in my opinion, knew more about Syracuse University sports than anyone I've ever talked to. And Jim Lurch, the Man-Child, was interviewed by Brent Axe on Syracuse.com, and I just loved this quote from him. This guy may have been one of the best sports personalities in Syracuse sports talk radio history. There were many times I would ask Steve, because I knew he was out there listening, could you look this up for me? He would show up the next day with the exact analysis I was looking for. And that's true. I worked with Jim Lurch on the Man-Child show for 3 years. And there were many times when we would be unsure about something. Lurch, even though I was the intern, Lurch wouldn't ask me to look it up. He would go out into the airwaves and say, hey, Steve, can you get this for me? Because he might have not even had to look it up. The guy just knew exactly what we were talking about when it came to Syracuse sports. He would call in and tell stories about going to Manley Fieldhouse and watching the team and, talk about these players that a lot of them have gone forgotten in Syracuse basketball history, but not by Steve Chappell, not by Steve in North Syracuse. An incredible base of knowledge, and like Lurch said, just one of the best personalities to ever hit the airwaves in Syracuse, New York. Steve will certainly be missed. Like I said, 71 years old, passed away after a battle with cancer, and I'll always miss him calling into the show. Always miss talking to Steve with that deep, kind of raspy voice that he had. A true one of one in terms of Syracuse personalities, and he will certainly be missed. Jim says Steve brought facts which were tough to argue with, even if the facts were unfavorable to Syracuse. That's true. Always had a story, a stat, something that you probably have never heard, Just ask Steve, because he would have had it. So massive rest in peace to Steve Chappell, a.k.a. better known as Steve in North Syracuse. Another passing in the sports world, this one on a much larger scale. And I'm not just saying that because of the actual size of this human being. Big George Foreman, 76 years old. One of the great boxers, one of the great heavyweights to ever step inside the ring, passed away. Olympic gold medal in 1968, two-time heavyweight champion, and a boxing Hall of Famer. Probably most well-known for his battles against Ali and Joe Frazier. But, of course, went on to be quite the businessman after his boxing career ended as well. George Foreman Grill. A product that I absolutely love. Jim says he remembers listening to the Rumble in the Jungle on the radio for live updates. Yeah, some of the great fights in the history of boxing belong to George Foreman. I'm a big boxing fan. I've gone back and watched the old Ali Foreman, Frazier Foreman fights. Ring Magazine named Foreman the 9th greatest puncher of all time. This is a big loss. This is one of the guys that boxing fans, a generation or two older than me, always talk about in terms of we miss when this was boxing. And when the heavyweights ruled, when people knew who the heavyweight champion was at all time, they always go back to the days of Ali, Frazier, and Foreman. He's always in that conversation. He will certainly be missed. His last fight came in November of 1997, which at that time he was 48 years old. He was the oldest man to ever hold the heavyweight champion at 45 years old when he beat Michael Moore in 1994. Just an absolute legend and will certainly be missed. Jim says 1997 Mark would have been ... -2. I would have been -2 years old. I was born in 1999, Jim. So I was never able to see Foreman fight live. But like I said, I have gone back and watched Foreman fights. It's one of my favorite things to do. Just randomly every once in a while is go on YouTube and watch old fights. There's a lot of really great fights that are just available on YouTube. I can't even tell you how many times I've watched the Mickey Ward Arturo Gatti trilogy. Those 3 fights, 3 of the best fights in the history of boxing. I maintain that Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward won the first fight. Is, in my opinion, maybe the best fight ever. An absolute bloodbath. Both guys go to the hospital after. Arturo Gatti breaks his hand in like the 7th round, and the fight still goes the distance, despite the fact that he can only throw punches with one hand. An incredible fight. Jim says, go watch Hearns versus Hagler, epic 2 rounds. Another great fight. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. In this day and age, a kind of underrated fighter, in my opinion. But yeah, so 76 years old, rip to Big George Foreman. one of the great entrepreneurs, athletes we've ever seen. That's enough for the sad news. I do want to mention one more thing before we get into college basketball talk and all of the other things going on. We had a transfer out of Syracuse basketball. Shocking. I say shocking. It is actually kind of surprising who the transfer was. We'll get into that in a little bit. I want to wish a very happy congratulations to a very special man in my life. After 50 years working full time, yesterday was my dad's last day at his job. My father was finally able to retire, and I am so proud of him. I'm so excited for him that he's able to retire and finally just do what he wants. And of course, I don't know how much I've talked about my father on this show, but he's retiring to work. He's not retiring just to play golf and to sit back in the chair. My dad is still going to work, but now he's at a point where he can make his own hours, work jobs that he wants to work. And I'm so happy for him that after 50 years in the workforce, yesterday was his last day at his job. So, Dad, if you're listening, I'm very proud of you. I'm very happy for you. Congratulations on 50 years in the workforce, and congratulations on your retirement. Can't wait for this next chapter where we are actually going to be working together. My dad retired so he can work at Bellevue Country Club with me. Well, not so he could do that, but he is going to work at Bellevue Country Club with me. And I'm so excited for us to be able to get to work together. He's going to be a security guard at Syracuse Mets games. Two things that my dad loves in life are baseball and golf. So now he gets to work in that environment every day if he wants to. Super excited for him. And I just wanted to bring that up. So, Dad, if you're listening, congratulations. I love you. It's going to be a very exciting time coming up, being able to work with you. We're going to take a time out. We'll come back and we'll actually talk about sports and all the things going on in college basketball and more right here on the Score 1260. For the best local beer in Central New York, the only place you need to look is Myers Creek Brewing Company, with 16 different beers on tap at both the Inner Harbor in Syracuse and the Palace that is the Cazenovia location. Myers Creek has something for everyone. Want a bite to eat? Both locations feature a kitchen with delicious pizzas, some of the best wings in Syracuse, and much more. Make sure to check out our friends at Myers Creek Brewing Company, the official bar of Outside the Box Score.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Jim, I saw you mention, yes, the studio is a little light today. I texted Josh like 10 minutes before the show. I think he told me he wasn't going to be here, and I just forgot. But I was sitting here, I'm like, where's Josh? I do think he told me. I don't have the best memory in the world sometimes. So I do think he told me he wasn't going to be here. But yeah, just me today. Yes, last week he was moving. The Bats took over the apartment. I was hoping he would be able to come on the show today and talk about it, but all right, someone called and then I went to pick it up and it was just gone. So if you were trying to call, please call again. Oh, that was Pat. Okay. Attaboy. Yeah, Jim, I like how Josh is Batman and I am Robin. That's a beautiful thing. It's not like it's my show or anything, but it's absolutely true. Hello. All right, I'll throw you on hold. There's Pat on the line. Talk a little bit of college basketball. Yeah, thanks for that, Jim, that he's Batman and I'm Robin. It's true. It's absolutely true. This show works because of Josh. I've said that before. UConn women are minus 45? That's a big number. I would absolutely bet it. It's a big number for a reason. The women's tournament doesn't start until the Elite Eight. So, what was it? Notre Dame won by 52 yesterday. Josh and I talked about that a couple weeks ago. It might not have even been on air, but we were talking about how the women's tournament is just the definition of chalk. Yeah, I would take UConn. 45 points? Who cares? I'd bet them. I've been red hot in March. Well, not in the entire month of March, but for the men's tournament. I bet McNeese. I bet Drake. I bet Colorado State. It's been a lot of fun. Oh, I bet New Mexico. 4 for 4 with dogs. Also had the over in the Bama game yesterday. Men's tourney has been chalk for like the high, like the high or the lower seeds, but and we're back outside the box score with me, Mark Rowlands, your home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on the score 1260. Going over to the phone lines, my good buddy Pat is calling in. Pat, how we doing?
Mark, how we feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling good. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. I'll keep this brief because I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I had a little bit of a late night last night.
I can tell.
Yeah, it usually happens. It happens.
Yeah,
but
Friday
I have a
night
fun stat for you. Yeah, I got a fun stat for you. Number one.
Okay.
To start off. Do you know there are more Patinos in the tournament than ACC teams now?
Yes, Richard Pitino, the coach of the New Mexico Lobos, winning last night, and then of course the Godfather himself, Rick. Yeah.
That New Mexico pick was one of the easiest picks I think I've had in a very long time, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, they were never going to lose that game.
They were never going to lose that game. Also, the McNeese game, everybody was acting like the McNeese was a big upset. I didn't think that was going to be. I didn't think that was a major upset.
Yeah, I mean, I was just saying, I bet McNeese, I bet Drake, I bet New Mexico, and I bet Colorado State. Those were the four that I was like, yeah, those are the double-digit seeds we're going to see moving on.
I was so out on Drake because I've lost so much money on Drake the last couple of years. Because every year I'm like, this is the year they're going to do it, and they just completely fall apart. They sicken me, dude.
Well, yeah, but now they have the second best coach in all of college basketball.
Yes, but they tried to lose that game.
Yeah, they did.
They really wanted to lose that game. But regardless, I was calling to give my pick for the day, Mark.
Okay.
Dude, St. John's 6.5 over Arkansas is easy money. If you could buy points, get that up to 10.5, I'd do that.
big on the Johnnies today. Okay.
Big on the Johnny. SEC are frauds.
The SEC are frauds. I wanted to talk to you about
SEC
that.
frauds. Yes.
The SEC, we're looking at 14 out of 16 teams getting
It's
into
ridiculous.
the tournament, and most of them aren't that good.
Well, that's what everybody was talking about the Big 12 last year, but everybody was like all over the Big 12 last year because they're like, there's so many good teams in this league, and then they go to the tournament and they completely fall apart because they're decent teams, but they're just like they just play kind of a soft brand of basketball, and like they kind of beat up on each other to the point where they come in and they're just like exhausted.
Yeah, and I was out on the Big 12 last year as well. I'm out on these conferences getting that many teams in. Now,
Agreed.
the SEC has 4 really good teams, in my opinion. Auburn, Florida, Bama, and Tennessee. After that, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, Vanderbilt? We're talking about Vanderbilt with an 8-10 conference record getting into the tournament. We're talking about Oklahoma.
It's disgusting.
Oklahoma was 6-12 in conference.
That was another easy pick. That anytime you have a Big East team versus an SEC team, just throw whatever money on your account, whatever's in your account, on the Big East team.
Yeah.
The Big East just plays a better brand of basketball.
I agree. And, of course, they were going to put Arkansas in because Calipari in his first year in a new school. Like, yeah, they were going to get in. But some of these, I mean, Texas getting –
Texas was horrible.
I know it was just the play-in, but the Texas pick is just as bad as the UNC pick.
No, agreed.
Who, of course, UNC goes to dominate San Diego State, and then they put up a game yesterday against Ole Miss. But
yeah,
that was just as bad.
No, 100%.
14 out of 16 teams is ridiculous. The SEC are frauds. And Jim says in chat, what ACC team should have been in instead of an SEC team? I'm not saying the ACC should have had more teams in.
I want to see Syracuse in there just so they can just get absolutely destroyed on a national stage.
Syracuse loses by
whoever
50.
We play. Yeah, dude. That Alabama State team would run us off the court. Dude.
Oh, yeah, dude.
That team could shoot. That team was like, the team was quick. That team would have destroyed us.
But in terms of like actual qualifications, Wake Forest went 13-7 in conference. They were pretty solid this year. Didn't make the tournament. SMU 13-7 in conference, 24-10 on the season. Didn't make the tournament. So there are ACC teams with probably just as good, if not better, qualifications than these SEC teams. I'm not saying the teams are as good. Wake Forest was solid this year. SMU was solid this year, but I wouldn't say they were great. It was just, it was kind of just a down year in college basketball this year, which is weird. There weren't as many good teams.
It's kind of crazy because, you go, Mark. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say there were some great teams.
Yeah.
And then a lot of okay teams.
Sure. But, I mean, how great are these SEC teams, though? I mean, in those teams that you listed, like 4 of them are like the good college basketball teams. And like, who are like the great ones right now? Probably Auburn, Florida, Alabama. Who's the other one? I'm trying to think.
Well, I said Tennessee in that list.
Tennessee's in that list. I mean, St. John's in that list. But like, there are a lot of SEC teams, and it's like we're kind of looking at this tournament right now and saying, I don't know if these SEC teams are as good as we think they are.
Yeah, I mean, you've got
like who's actually good
in terms of legitimate title contenders. I think you've got Auburn, Florida, Houston.
Houston gets beat today, by the way.
Really? You think so?
Yeah, I think Gonzaga beats Houston. Gonzaga's awesome.
Gonzaga is awesome offensively, but they can't play a lick of defense.
No, I mean, that's fine. They get hot, it's over.
I think Duke's a great team. Bama is Gonzaga on steroids. They just score a ton of points, but don't really play defense.
They always do that.
Yeah, that's Bama basketball. And I wouldn't even say St. John's. Like, just because of their shooting woes.
Dude, I'm telling you, if they get hot, though, they're beating anybody.
Yeah, if they get hot and if they learn how to shoot.
Yeah,
Like,
Kadari Richmond's never going to play in the NBA, but he's a hell of a point guard.
Oh, I love Kadari. I'm still
He's
mad that
so
we
good.
lost him.
He does everything except shoot well.
Yeah, and that's St. John's basketball is they do everything well except shoot.
RJ Lewis is really good.
Yeah, they've got great players. I think St. John's is an awesome team. I think you need to be able to shoot at least a little bit in March.
Yeah, they picked it up in that second half, though.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they looked good in their first round game, but it's Omaha, so
yeah.
That
Omaha team was really big. Actually, that team was actually very interesting to watch.
They were pretty big. And the other one I wanted to mention was Michigan State. I mean, Tom Izzo in March.
Michigan State's good too.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go against Izzo in March.
For sure.
That Michigan State team is really good, and one that
for sure.
I think they got a terrible draw because I would have loved to see them go further, but they've got Auburn today. Creighton is awesome.
Creighton is awesome. That's the thing. The Big East teams are good. Because the Big East teams, they play in these big moments. They play against, dude, if you go play the Johnnies at MSG, I mean, it's basically a tournament game at that point. It's like you got 30,000 people there. Everybody's locked in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like playing in the Big East is a massive stage, and to be a good Big East team, you have to be such a solid basketball program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
agree.
It's like the middle of the Big East, I think, is better than the middle of the SEC. And I know they got 14 teams and whatever, but everybody's so solid. There's not as big of a jump in between teams, if that makes any sense. Like even DePaul was was a little better this year.
Yeah, I mean they were better. They were still bad.
But still, I mean, every conference has to have a bad team. But DePaul is probably better than South Carolina was.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? And it's Providence is pretty bad this year, but I mean, I don't know. Providence still isn't a terrible program. I mean, they still got guys, even though they lost their best player yesterday. I don't know if you saw that. The Bryce Hopkins was transferring.
I did see that. Yeah, Providence is a solid program. They're really missing Ed Cooley.
They're a good coach. Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a good coach, but Ed Cooley is a really good coach. I mean, hell, Georgetown was above 500 this year.
No, Ed Cooley stinks.
Yeah, I think he's a really good coach.
Ed Cooley stinks.
Why?
Well, ask his wife.
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
Ask his wife.
Ask Rick Pitino's wife. I mean...
well, hey, come on now. Rick's winning, though.
Yeah,
Rick can do whatever he wants. I will tell you, this is my last thing for you. The Rick Pitino, PR, the comeback of Rick Pitino has been so enjoyable to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's he was casted away. They made him go coach in Greece.
Mm-hmm.
Comes back, coaches at Iona. And Iona firing that coach to Tobin Anderson is crazy, too.
Yeah, that was a wild move.
I don't get that move. There must have been something that happened there. I don't understand it. And then he comes to St. John's. They have an okay year last year. They should have made the tournament last year, too.
Yeah,
they come back this year, and they're awesome. And everybody's like, this is the best coach of all time. And honestly, they kind of might be right. He might be top 5 coach all time.
I think he's number 2. I've talked about this before.
It's crazy.
I think it's John Wooden and Rick Pitino. It's
crazy to do it in this era too. To do it through so many eras too.
The guy's gone to the tournament with 5 different programs.
It's crazy.
No one can do what Rick Pitino does. It's amazing because he goes in and every team is the same, but it still works. It's just really hard-nosed defense, not great shooting, and somehow wins 30 games.
If you're ever bored, they did a series on the St. John's team this year, like a Hard Knocks type deal.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Vice, so it's kind of hard to watch, but it's kind of hard to get to watch.
Yeah.
But it's very funny. He was talking about in the first episode. He was talking about he walked into the gym for the first practice, and he saw how they're doing in the shooting drills. And he's like, "Well, we're not going to be able to shoot this year, so we better get really good defensively." And so that's what they did. It's he could just walk in and be like, "Okay, we can't do that, so we're just going to do everything else really, really well."
Yeah.
It sounds so stupid to be like, "Wow, that's a great coach," but at the same time, it's so many coaches could probably be like, "We need to get better at shooting." But it's why even bother? We're just going to get really good at everything else.
It's the anti-Syracuse this year.
100%. Yeah.
They were like, okay, yeah. Going into the season, it was like, okay, this is going to be a great 3-point shooting team. And then we saw after about 3 games that was not the case. And they made zero adjustments and just kept chucking threes.
Syracuse hasn't had a good shooter since Andrew White.
I'm trying to think. No, I mean Buddy.
Buddy was a good. That's true. Buddy was a good shooter. Wasn't Buddy on those teams though?
No. Well, he was there after
no,
Andrew White. Like,
you're right. No, Buddy was the best shooter that we had in a while. But
as much as
Buddy was Andrew White.
As much as we talk crap about it, I mean Girard was a good 3-point shooter for Syracuse.
He was all right. The problem is we didn't have him shoot. We had him like handling the ball. He went to Clemson. They just put him in the corner and let him shoot, and he was good.
Yeah, which was my big problem with Girard the entire time was he's not a point guard. He's just 5'10". Like
for sure.
That was the problem.
Sure.
Well, he can't really be the 2 guard. He's short.
No, he can't do it. Like he couldn't really do anything well, honestly, which is like not a good thing. Like not a good thing for a basketball player to do is not do anything well.
Yeah,
but I mean he could kind of shoot.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. I going back and like looking at like how the St. John's like trajectory has gone, where it's like when I first moved to New York, St. John's was like nothing. Nobody cared about.
No one cared.
It's like you can get into their games in the Garden for like $5.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. So I used to go to all those games. And now they're packed, 30,000 people. Everybody are pumped to see them. There's celebrities sitting in the front row. They look like Knicks games. It's wild.
I was going to say, Spike Lee cares again. Spike Lee's going to St. John's games for the first time in 30 years.
I'm not saying like I didn't go to St. John's, so I'm obviously not like a massive St. John's fan.
Yeah.
But I've been following them since I've moved to New York, just because it's like, just a team to follow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like another New York team to follow. I live kind of by the Garden, so I can go watch them play.
Yeah, and you're a Big East basketball fan. Why wouldn't you go to St. John's?
I'm a massive Big East basketball fan. I had a long talk with John Fanta the other day that I have to tell you about.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, dude, John Fanta rules.
Yeah.
But it's crazy just to see like St. John's made the decision. It's like we're just gonna go. We're gonna get the best coach we can, and they took a chance on Pitino, and it's completely worked out for them. And Syracuse is sitting there still doing the same thing we were doing like 10 years ago, really, with the same people, just minus Boeheim, and it's still not working. It's crazy. This class at Syracuse, the graduating class at Syracuse this year, did not see Syracuse play in the tournament once.
First time in 50 years.
First time in 50 years.
Yep.
It's like, I mean, it's unacceptable.
Oh, I agree. I
Pitino
100%
went,
agree.
he got donors. He went and got donors. He went and got money. I mean, I don't know how like Syracuse can sit here and watch this happen against St. John's and be like, why aren't we doing that? We could easily do that.
I personally, I don't know why we didn't make a play for him. Like,
I mean, I don't know about that.
He never would have taken the job.
Pitino.
He never would have taken the job.
I don't know about that.
No, because he wouldn't have wanted to follow up Boeheim because there was always the thing, like they were obviously very close friends. He was the first assistant that Boeheim hired at Syracuse.
Right.
I don't think he would have wanted to follow Boeheim. But so I don't think he would have taken the job. But at least try to make a play for him.
Yeah, at least give him a call.
Like that's my thing is give it a shot. Offer, call Jay Wright. Call Rick Pitino.
Yes.
Like give the guys a call.
Can somebody text them?
Yeah, like
can somebody text them?
There was nothing.
Let's have a conversation.
Yeah,
for Christ's sake.
There was no conversation. It was just straight to Autry, which I liked the hire at the time. I was pro hiring Autry. I'm now starting to regret that take, but just give it a shot.
You know what though? You look at like all these really good young coaches in the tournament, like Will Wade. I mean, Will Wade's not like really a young coach. He's been around for a while, but it's
but he's a great coach.
He's going to NC State. It's like he can 100% coach at Syracuse, and he'd be awesome coaching at Syracuse.
I would love Will Wade.
And it's like we're still going with Autry. This isn't working.
I mentioned him before. Ben McCollum at Drake is probably the second best coach in the sport. I mean,
yes.
The guy won, 5 national championships in D2, goes to Drake and immediately wins 31 games? Like,
St. Bonaventure is a better program than we are now. Do you know where St. Bonaventure is?
It's Olean, New York, my brother. Like,
nowhere. It's nowhere. There's nothing there. How are they recruiting and we're not? Sure, they get different guys too, but they went and they just got that. I don't know if you saw, but they went and just got a massive recruit out of the portal.
Yeah, I saw that.
from like Cal State Fullerton or something like that.
It's nice when your GM is Woj.
But like, I mean, we have firepower too. Play Melo. I mean, we're getting Melo's son, but it's like, why doesn't Melo just like sit courtside every game?
I don't
like,
know.
Feel like you could be like him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It blows my mind.
And you know what? It's really pissing me off, Mark, because I've been seeing a lot of pro Adam Weitzman stuff on social media lately, and I don't like it.
I mean, I kind of miss it. I kind of miss the money.
Sure. Yes. Sure. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but he was trying to be a little bit bigger than the program, and we don't need that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
You need the money.
Yeah.
We know the rich people. Why are other people donating?
I don't understand why every single broadcaster doesn't donate to Syracuse.
That's what I'm saying.
Why is Bob Costas
does give
not
a lot of money to Syracuse?
Tirico does, yeah. But
yes.
why is Bob Costas not the face of this university?
Mike Tirico kind of is.
Yeah, Tirico kind of is, but you've got. I mean, there's 3 guys just on CBS and Turner during the tournament that went to Syracuse.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
It's crazy.
Talk about this more. Talk about Andrew Catalan and Greg Zucker and like those guys.
Yeah.
Sean McDonough, yeah. There's so many of them out there, and as good as Newhouse is at like keeping guys like Tirico around, do all of them. Just stay involved with all of them.
Agree.
There's a million of them.
I 100% agree. All these Newhouse guys, like, they love Syracuse, but like somebody needs to start paying up a little bit. We need a little bit more cash.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is, a lot of them love Syracuse, and Syracuse doesn't necessarily love them back. And that's
agreed.
That's one of my big problems with how Syracuse, in terms of how they treat their alumni. Because I've talked to.
Oh, you're telling me?
Well, yeah, you would know, but I've talked to a couple that are in the industry that can't get a credential to Syracuse games because
it is kind of crazy.
Because SU doesn't claim them. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's what's very interesting to me too is that like Syracuse.com hires like just beat writers for like the Syracuse football beat, obviously too. But like, why don't you just go get a Newhouse kid and do that?
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they kind of have
really
those
separate thing,
but it's Syracuse.com does their obviously they're the biggest publication around, so they get the real reporters. I've been doing the freelance stuff for Rivals.com, and the only reason I do that is when one of the students can't make it.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Those websites go and get students to do it, like Newhouse kids.
Yeah.
And so they are able to do that, just not for Syracuse.com. It's for The Juice and Noon's Magician and all the other, like Inside the Loud House, all the other publications that cover Syracuse, which there are a million of, get Newhouse students, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. But I was just wondering about that. I did just call in to give you my pick, so let me finish let me finish on why I'm picking the Johnnies, and then you can get on with the show, Mark.
Hey, it's a good conversation.
Johnnies. No, I'm having fun, dude. You got me all fired up on a Saturday afternoon, too.
Yeah, that's what the show's all about.
I need to get out of bed. Okay, Patino's not losing to Calipari, so that's really the end of my thoughts there. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
No, that's fair.
They've been talking about how he wants to wipe Calipari off of his resume. I don't really get how that works, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Did you hear Patino's quote about coaching rivalries?
Yes, I did see that. Is all my jump shots broken?
Yeah, well, it was interesting to me where he was like, I've had one rival in my life, and that was Jim Calhoun. He's like, everyone.
Yeah, that's a good quote.
Yeah, he's like, everyone else I'm kind of friends with, which of course, like Boeheim he was friends with, and Calipari, him and Calipari have quite the history together and stuff like that. He's like, but I just hated Jim Calhoun.
Have you ever seen the YouTube video of why somebody did a YouTube video on like the chronological order of like Tom Hart and Patino's relationship with each other?
No, I've not
and, like,
seen
why
that.
they like their friendship like completely deteriorated? Dude, you should watch that. I'll send it to you today. It's really good.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Those are my thoughts. Also, Jim in the chat, dude. We gotta get together. I gotta see what you look like.
Shout out, Jim.
Jim, we gotta get a beer, dude. We gotta talk some Syracuse basketball.
I agree. I think we should all get together.
We do.
Yeah, 3 of us. We'll get Josh there. So 4 of us, and grab a beer at Myers Creek sometime.
We might have to, dude.
All right, Pat. Thanks for calling in, buddy. I'm way overdue for a break. So.
No, it's all good, dude. Sorry for keeping you.
No, you're good. Have a good weekend, pal.
All right, brother. Yeah, see you, man.
There he is, Pat Burke, calling in from Manhattan, as he often does. We do have to take a timeout. I'm way overdue. So we'll be back in just a little bit here on Outside the Box Score. If you're a fan of local craft beer, the only place you need to go is Myers Creek Brewing Company, with 16 brews on tap at both the Cazenovia and Inner Harbor locations. Myers Creek has the best selection of locally brewed libations in all of Central New York. Want a nice hazy IPA? The Velvet Fog is a must-try. More of a traditional Pilsner, how about the Floatin' on By? And for you sour drinkers, the It Takes Blue to Mango. So crack open a cold one with the official beer of Outside the Box Score, Myers Creek. I did just double the break, Jim. That's what I was doing. Listen, when Pat and I get going, it's hard to stop us. Shout out my dad who was listening. Texted in. Love you, Dad. Yeah, I think Stone probably is sleeping. Sometimes the first game today, noon. That I won't be able to watch. Yeah, McNeese Purdue. It's opening day at Bellevue Country Club today. Pat, what's the band? Lamp? Interesting. Yeah, Jim, it is very cold. It's way too cold for golf. But course opens up today, so I will be there after the show. Greens look good. Place is already in solid shape. I mean, especially for March, but shout out Steve Fisher, our superintendent, does a great job. It's members of the Trey Anastasio band and Joe Russo's Almost Dead. Interesting. Needed to open 3 days ago when it was, warm. Yeah. I hit balls on Wednesday. I went up to the range. It's good. Swing felt way too good. I didn't like it. Scared me. Scared me how good the swing felt. Driver was going dead straight. Little baby draw on it. I don't draw the ball, Jim. I like a nice 3 to 5 yard cut. Need to play a little Burnett. I got to go to Burnett soon. Got to work on my iron play. I played last Friday. Big match. Some members of Bellevue and a few other guys, and did not go well, to say the least. Irons were atrocious. And we're back outside the box score with me, Mark Rowlands, your home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on the score 1260. It's the most wonderful time of the year, folks. For the third consecutive day, we have a full slate of college basketball, starting with a standalone game, 12:10 p.m. on CBS. The Purdue Boilermakers taking on the McNeese Cowboys. I have a question. Maybe someone can look this up. When did it switch from McNeese State? I feel like it was just like 2 years ago. They were McNeese State, and now they're just McNeese. It keeps throwing me off. I keep seeing people say McNeese State. Like, that's not what they're called anymore. It's weird. But McNeese is taking on Purdue. Purdue, 6.5-point favorite, totals at 140.5. And I'll tell you right now, I wrote them in the first round. I'm doing it again. I think McNeese wins this game. I think Purdue are frauds. I've thought this for years, despite their run to the Final Four. I don't like Purdue. I don't like them one bit. They had Zach Edey. That was it. Since the Carson Edwards days, which that was a fun team. When they had Carson Edwards, that was a fun team. But since then, I think they're frauds. So I'm going McNeese in that one. I like Pat's pick with St. John's minus 6.5. I love the Johnnies today against Arkansas. I think it's going to be a good game, but I do think they cover. I wouldn't go as far as Pat said to buy the points up to 10.5. I think it's going to be closer than that, but I do like them on the 6.5. Michigan, Texas A&M. Texas A&M's a 2.5-point favorite. Guess what? We're fading the SEC. Pat and I were just talking about it. No SEC. And I don't like the Big Ten either, typically, in March, unless it's Tom Izzo. But I'll go with the Wolverines in that one as a dog. Drake, Texas Tech. Texas Tech is a 6.5-point favorite. I was just talking about it. I think Ben McCollum is the second best coach in college basketball. I think he's an incredible coach. I love what he's done with this Drake team. I really like this Drake team. And I think Ben McCollum's going to be there for like 3 years until he's hired by like Kentucky or something. Probably not Kentucky, but he's going to get a big-time job coming up. I don't know. Texas Tech, 6.5-point favorite. Total's 127.5. That's where I'll go. I'll take the over. I'll take the over in that one. Because it's March. Who doesn't like points? Points are fun, right? So give me the over 127.5 in that game. Creighton, Auburn. Auburn, 8.5-point favor. This game's at 7 o'clock on TBS and True TV, apparently. It's listed as both. It's probably either. I really like this Creighton team, man. Auburn's an 8.5-point favorite. I'll take Creighton to cover that spread. I don't think they're going to win this game. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think they're going to win. But I would not be shocked if Creighton took down Auburn. I am huge on this Creighton team. They're big. When they shoot well, I don't think there are 5 better teams in the country than Creighton when they're hot. Not just Creighton in general, but when Creighton shoots the ball like they did in the first round against Louisville, I don't know if there are 5 better teams in the country than Creighton. So I like him to cover the 8.5 points. Total in that one's 150.5. Don't hate the over in that one either. It's a pretty big number, but I don't hate the over in that one either. BYU, Wisconsin. Wisconsin, 1.5. I got nothing for this game, to be totally honest with you. I think these are two teams that match up well against each other. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. Totals at 155.5. That's a big number. I don't know. Give me Wisconsin to win, but I wouldn't be shocked either way. BYU is a really solid team. So, yeah, certainly wouldn't be surprised if they took them down as a 6th seed. Gonzaga, Houston. Pat gave his pick. He said he likes the Zags. I think Houston's defense might be a little too much. Now, I fall into the Houston trap almost every year. Every year, I'm like, this is the year Houston wins the chip. Kelvin Sampson gets to add that ring to his resume. Gets to cut down the nets. I didn't fall into it this year. I'm in a couple of bracket groups, including the Man-Child Show group. My champion was Auburn. I picked Auburn this year. I'm a big Johnny Broom guy. So I didn't fall into the Houston trap like I have probably 3 out of the last 5 years. Like I used to do with Kansas. For years, I picked Kansas almost every year to win it. And then the one year I didn't pick them, they win it with Bill Self a couple of years ago. So, yeah, for years I fell into the Kansas trap, but I'm going to take Houston minus 4.5 in this one. I'm going to go against Pat with his pick. Even though I don't hate Gonzaga by any means. I think Gonzaga is a pretty damn good team. But I think Houston's defense is just going to be too much for Gonzaga. And Houston can score this year, which is something they've not been able to do in years prior. Their offense is better. It's still not great, but it's a good offense. And a good offense paired with an incredible defense is a problem. So I'm going to take Houston in that one. Then the last game of the day, 9:40 p.m. TBS True TV, UCLA and Tennessee. Now, we were just talking about how the SEC are frauds. That does not include Tennessee. Tennessee is a 5.5-point favorite. I think UCLA is okay. I think Tennessee's really good. So I'm going to take the Volunteers minus 5.5. Total in that one's low, 130.5. I'm not going to bet it, but don't hate the under. Tennessee has a really good defense. And Syracuse fans saw that up close early in the season. Tennessee's defense is lights out. So I'm going to take Tennessee in that one, minus 5.5. Got to take one more time out. We'll come back, wrap things up here on Outside the Box, where you're home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on Score 1260. For the best local beer in Central New York, the only place you need to look is Myers Creek Brewing Company, with 16 different beers on tap at both the Inner Harbor in Syracuse and the Palace that is the Cazenovia location. Myers Creek has something for everyone. Want a bite to eat? Both locations feature a kitchen with delicious pizzas, some of the best wings in Syracuse, and much more. Make sure to check out our friends at Myers Creek Brewing Company, the official bar of Outside the Box Score. Best guess how many more hit the portal. We're going to talk about that when I come back. Specifically, Kyle Cuff leaving, because I was kind of surprised by that. I've said it for months now. I think Moore and Freeman are gone. So I don't think Freeman enters the draft this year. I think he hits the portal. Which I was prepared for. I was prepared for Donnie Freeman to spend 1 year at Syracuse. That's all I expected. I wish the year went better than getting hurt and being called day to day for 2 months. Yeah, I say Elijah Moore and Donnie Freeman are gone. Which is a shame. I'd love to see them both come back. I think the best thing for Syracuse would be for both of them to come back, but I just don't really see it happening. Hopefully I'm wrong. I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again. I'm wrong quite often, actually. And we're we're back outside the box score with me, Mark Rowlands, your home for local sports in Syracuse, right here on the Score 1260, wrapping up another fun-filled hour here on the Score. Want to talk about a kind of surprising move regarding Syracuse in the transfer portal this week. Just yesterday, Kyle Cuff, former Kansas guard who transferred to Syracuse, announced he is entering the transfer portal. Now, normally I wouldn't be too surprised at this. Backup point guard, came off the bench. You know, it didn't get a ton of minutes this year. But this comes just about a week, maybe less than a week after Kyle Cuff said he was planning on coming back to Syracuse. This is interesting because, in my opinion, this means that there is something in the works for another guard. That Syracuse has their eyes on a guard in the transfer portal and are planning on bringing him in. I don't know who it is. I haven't heard anything, but that's just what it seems like to me, is that he's leaving because he realizes, oh, I'm not going to get the minutes that I thought I was because they're bringing in this other point guard. We'll have to wait and see who it is. But just an interesting move. Now, Jim asked during the break, best guess, how many more hit the portal? I've talked about it for a while. I do not see Elijah Moore and Donnie Freeman coming back. This was a terrible season for Syracuse basketball, and I can't imagine they were too happy with their usage. I could be wrong. This is all speculation. But I can't imagine they were too happy with how they were used this year. And unless things are going to change dramatically, I don't see a world where they come back. Now, hopefully I'm wrong, because I think the best thing for Syracuse basketball is for both of them to come back. And as sophomores, play with Kyan Anthony and Sadiq White. And they go and get a big man in the portal as well, get a point guard. I think that's the recipe for not return to form necessarily, but certainly a better year than this year would be transfer guard, Elijah Moore, Sadiq White, or Elijah Moore, Kyan Anthony, Sadiq White, Donnie Freeman. That's the lineup I want to see. I know Donnie Freeman isn't huge. He's not a bully down low like Lampkin was at times this year. But he's long. He's 6'10". He's a freak athlete. I think you can play him at the 5 as a small ball 5 and have success. I don't know if he wants to do that. That might be a chemistry thing. It might be a positional discomfort for him. That's just how I see an ideal Syracuse starting lineup next year, is a guard out of the transfer portal, since it won't be Kyle Cuff. I would have been fine with it being Kyle Cuff. I really like Kyle Cuff. I like the way he plays. He hustles. He's a good passer. He's an okay defender. I would have been fine with it being Kyle Cuff. But since that is not an option now, transfer guard, Elijah Moore, Kyan Anthony, Sadiq White, Donnie Freeman. That way you've got your best 5 players on the floor for the starting lineup, which is something that we did not necessarily see at times this year. And I'd like to see that group close. Now, is the defense going to be good? No. It's not a good defensive team. But they're not going to be a good defensive team anyway. Just score. And I think that's a group that can score, that can outscore their opponents. I'd be interested to see that. But I don't think it's going to happen. So I think Syracuse needs to hit the portal hard this offseason. They've got to be able to pay up and get some big names out of the transfer portal, because as much as I like Sadiq White and Kyan Anthony, 2 guys cannot save the program, especially when there are so many glaring holes on that roster. But that's going to do it. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel, 11 a.m. right here on the Score 1260. Thanks to everyone for listening. I just want to shout out my dad one more time. Dad, you texted me. Love you. Proud of you. Happy for you. Looking forward to working with you. We'll see you all next week. Peace.
Listen on radio, smart speakers, and our free mobile app, WSKO Syracuse.